All right, everybody, and welcome to Bird Dog to Intern with Ivan Oberon. This is Thursday, February 13th of 2014. I welcome you and thank you for showing up on time and for spending some time with me. And for those of you listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. And we're gonna probably go about 45 minutes tonight, maybe not too long, as we proceed and kind of give you some updates on what's happening, and then we'll go ahead and open it up for some Q&A, and maybe we'll even unmute some of you and do a little bit better interaction. But there's a lot of things going on this week. I know you guys have been busy. I know Sean's been busy, and Mark's been hammering it, and Mark's been keeping busy doing his thing, and I've been actually seeing some action from him recently, and I commend you guys for doing that. That's really what this is all about. Hang on a second. I'm getting a comment here. Man, you know what? I never stop catching flack from people. You know what I mean? You do all these things for people, and somehow they always find a way to give you some slack. Oh, we got another person on here. Welcome, welcome. Um, so let me focus here for a second because I got a bunch of things distracting me. We'll get back into this. So what's been going on this week? It's been another busy week of doing deals and getting deals under contract. I have a particular deal that I want to discuss with you guys today because it's actually kind of interesting, and I had a lot of fun putting this one together with one of the sellers, simply because it's extremely unique, the way the property is laid out, and the different components of it, and how we're going to be able to potentially capture a pretty decent amount of cash flow out of the deal ourselves, instead of just getting your typical down payment and going from there. So we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But for those of you who are listening to the podcast or who may not have signed up for the Bird Dog program yet, if you would like to do so, you can go to cdcrea.com/Bird Dog program. Click through, and it'll send you the 10-minute task with some instructions on how you can source leads. The primary program and objective that we're going after here is the sourcing of leads, to have properties in inventory to act as bait to attract buyers who do not otherwise qualify for conventional mortgage financing right now, but are otherwise qualified to buy a house, meaning that they have the requisite down payment, the financial wherewithal to get into the property, they can afford the monthly payments, and they are committed to working with us to get qualified for conventional financing. And, within the contract term, whatever contract term that we decide is adequate between all three parties. So that is specifically what this program is targeting. Of course, out of that, other opportunities can arise as we move forward. And as I've talked to some of you, and some of you on this call, and a lot of you who are not on this call, that message me for questions on a regular basis, and what's going on, what am I doing, and what am I doing wrong, and I got to get my closing ratio up, and I see that you get deal after deal after deal after deal, and what's going on, like what am I doing wrong here, um, and really you got to take it back to the basics, okay, back to the very beginning, to say this thing takes time. Okay, this is a business. If you guys are getting into this, you're going to get into it to create a business. If you're getting into it to just be kind of like a one shot wonder, or whatever whatever it is, then you're getting into this for the wrong reasons. Because although that does happen on a rare occasion, when somebody comes in, they start doing some stuff, they get one property under contract, then all of a sudden a buyer comes in and they're getting paid within 10-15 days. I've seen that happen one time, and you know what happens? You never hear from that person again. Why? Because they didn't take the requisite time to build a foundation, which you have to build in order to build your pipeline, in order to continue to fill that funnel and have deals come in on a regular basis. And that's part of the reason that we grow the inventory and have more and more inventory accumulating, is because we got to get to a point of critical mass to where those properties become the bait to attract more and more and more buyer leads that come in on a consistent and regular basis. and that takes time. Your closing ratios are going to take time. For those of you that are not making phone calls yet, that's going to be the whole goal and the whole point of what we're doing here. So primarily this bird dog program has been focused on teaching you guys how to source leads, sending the leads over to me so that I can close them, get the properties under contract, find the buyer, get the buyers in the property, get paid, and then so you guys can get paid. So you're investing your time in the learning process, which, I mean, the learning for sourcing the leads, it's minuscule. As long as you can copy and paste and follow some very basic instructions, you got that part down. Okay. But the next step really is learning the program, learning the system. What are we sourcing these leads for? How are we going to ultimately put these deals together? How are we going to close? What's the benefit to the buyer? What's the benefit to the seller? What is going on here so that we can close these leads? And we're going to start ramping this thing up here in the near future to get you guys transitioned from just sourcing leads to being able to call on those leads and close some of those deals yourselves, so that you guys can take a bigger part of the actual profit instead of just collecting a fee. And then of course everybody's going to benefit from the additional energy and inventory and everything else that we're creating. But the point that I was getting to here is that I tell people is like is you got to start. You got to just start now. Get some education, take some initiative, figure out what you can do, how much time you can dedicate on a daily basis to either source leads or to start making phone calls on some of these leads that come in. And you just gotta start doing it, because everybody sucks in the beginning, and anything worth doing is worth doing terribly at first, because the more you do it and the more you kind of fail and stumble through it, the more you're going to learn, the more questions are going to come up that you can come back and ask. All those different things are going to start stacking up, and the aggregate of all those daily actions and experiences are going to be what add up to your ultimate success. So same thing with me. When I first started this thing, my closing ratio wasn't that great, and if I track uh, my progression now, my closing ratio is insane. I mean, I mean, I got 2 deals done today, and I had another 2 deal day a week or two ago, where I got 2 properties under contract in the same day, and there was times when I mean, I'd go weeks without getting anything. Right in the beginning, you start, you see people, getting deals and what's going on, and there's all this excitement and what's wrong with me, and why haven't I been able to do that? And it's very easy to get sucked into that kind of thing, and you want to do everything that you can to avoid that and just take action when you see that stuff happening. Let it be a motivator for you instead of a demotivator that makes you think, oh well, I'm just not going to get this and doing something wrong, and I'm gonna lose interest and never get anything done. So many people just they start doing this, they get excited, they see what's going on, and so they decide that they want to give it a shot. And a month goes by and nothing happens for them. 2 months go by and nothing happens for them, and so they just quit, and you never hear from them again. And what many people don't take into consideration is that 1 or 2 months that went by, they really didn't dedicate all that much time during that period of time into getting that done, because they have their own day jobs, and they have other distractions, and maybe they're not really working at it as hard as they could, or dedicating as much time to it as they could. And this is just like anything else. Okay, you got to put the time into it. The more time you put into it, the better your learning curve is going to be. The faster all those things are going to happen. And I get a question all the time too. How many leads should I how many emails should I send a day? How many texts should I send? How many calls should I make? All these different things. And it's just like, answer that question for yourself. Okay? How much it depends on how much you want to do, how much you want to handle, how much time you want to devote into it, because the more effort and energy you put into it, the it's much more likely that your results are going to kind of fall in line with the amount of effort that you're putting into it. So ask yourself that question: how many do you think you should be putting out? How much energy and time do you think you need to be putting into it? That's not a question for anybody but yourselves. Yeah. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. And like I said, we're going to be really putting together more of a training, hands-on, step by step type of scenario to take you through, like, okay, what is the strategy? What is virtual real estate investing? How do you do it? What are the benefits of it? What is the bread and butter deal that we're going after? How do you structure these contracts? How do you talk to a seller? What are all the different key elements, and really take you through, step by step by step, the anatomy of a phone call, and how to follow up properly, and how to set your goals and break them down, and all those different things that's going to be spread out over an extended period of time. Because realizing that, there's only so much that you guys can learn by sourcing leads and by listening to these calls and so forth. So we're going to be getting into that. And just to let you know that it does work, I have another property this week. We had a contract executed from the buyer. They are remitting their first monthly payment this next coming Thursday, and they're going to start moving in on next Saturday. And they're extremely excited. They're completely just in awe that somebody would help them, and they're having this opportunity to buy a property. And so, I mean, it's crazy, because you can do these things that enable you to provide for yourself and for your family, and do well, and do good for other people. And I mean, they tell me, God bless you and thank you, and I can't believe this. And believe me, they're gonna be a great testimonial. So that's one of the reasons that gets me excited about doing this whole thing. And so, uh, the next thing, that we'll do is work with them to get them qualified over the next couple of years. I talked to the sellers tonight, and we're going to be doing a transfer mortgage, and so there's all these different things that are happening. And at the same time, we're still getting leads, and we're still getting deals done because of the pipeline. Okay, one of the things that will, if you're not doing this right now, and one of the things that if you're not, haven't ever done anything where you're accustomed to following up with people, that's where the follow up, that's where the fortune is. The fortune is always in the follow up. And as some of you who have kind of been tracking with me and the different things that I do, so many of these different lead or deals that come in are because I follow up on either, your leads, or my own, that I've called, and that didn't close right away, and just keep following up and following up and following up. And all of a sudden, all these months of follow up start to stack up on top of each other, because every once in a while you get people that, as long as you make a good impression, they will follow up with you. And that takes us to the two deals that I'm working on right now, and how that develops. So let me share that with you guys, just so that, just so you kind of understand the way that this works, and the importance of building rapport in your conversations, and making sure that you follow up. Yes, yes, they are, Michael. Michael's comment: the testimonials are great. The sellers really like them. Yes. And so the other thing that we're working on is we're going to be putting together, now that we have the buyer site fully operational, pretty much, and running. We're going to be working on putting together the seller site. So something that is more tailored to the sellers, and then of course getting seller testimonials to put up there as well, because that's something that, I think we've been a little anemic in for a while, and certainly that can, the sellers want to see, oh yeah, great, the buyer testimonial, that's pretty cool. But when there's other seller testimonials that are in, people who are who are in their position, that's going to be a little bit more powerful as well. But here's what happened: I had called on a lead, about a month and a half ago, and the guy lived in Colorado, and he was, going through the thing, and I build the rapport and kind of got the background and what he's doing and why, and he needs to move for work. So he wants to sell, and he needs a solution. So he's kind of in a hurry. The guy ends up, agreeing to it. I send him the agreement. He executes it, and not too much later after that, the guy tells me that he had to put a renter in there. So he found a tenant, and he put him in the property, and oh well. So chalk that up to a good experience, and we move on. Well, a few days ago, or a couple of days ago, out of the blue, the guy calls me. He moved, he's settled into his new place, and it just so happens that he really likes the place that he's at right now. And he remembers, because when we talked last time, I planted the seed of, oh well, if you're moving, are you looking to rent, or are you going to buy wherever it is that you're moving? And so we got into that conversation, found out that he doesn't qualify for a mortgage either. Explained to him how it would work on the buyer end. So now if we engaged him as a seller, but now we're giving him the benefits as a buyer. And so he remembered that conversation, and he said, "You know what? I really like this place that I'm at right now." And the owner is considering selling it. He's thought about it, and I really don't want to give him the chance to sell it out from underneath me. We really like it. We want to stay here. Do you think that you could talk to him and work something out for him to sell me the house? And I said, of course, I'd be happy to do that. And then during the conversation, he's like, and you know what? Do you want to talk to my tenant? I put a tenant in my property. Do you want to talk to my tenant and see if he'd be willing to buy my house? Because I'm still open to selling it, and I like the guy. Yeah, he's already in there. I like him. Maybe it'd be worth a conversation. So of course, you always say yes to opportunity, right? So I said, of course, set it up. Let him know. Give him a call. Let him know what you're talking about, who I am, and when I can reach him. Well, like in an hour and a half, the tenant of his property calls me, and so we start talking about who I am and what the program is and what we can do to help. And I start taking him through the qualification process, and it turns out that he's got like 17 grand that he can bring to the table, and it's only a $350,000 property, so that's more than enough to make it a qualifying down payment. And so by the end of that conversation, he was pretty much on board. I talked to the seller to get him to execute a new agreement because the terms were different than the original one. And now I'm just waiting to talk to his landlord, because he was in Daytona or something with his son, and he couldn't talk. But he's setting up that conversation, that whole thing for me as well. So here's somebody that, because I took the time to build a little rapport, I showed that I cared, and I followed up with him relentlessly for a little while, until I knew the property was basically gone. That followed up with me, and now has basically laid all this stuff down on my lap, and all I had to do was go in and basically close. So that's the kind of thing that gets fun after a while, but that doesn't happen right away. You have to be consistent. You have to build that pipeline. You have to follow up. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to get trained, and you have to take the time to do it. Okay. A lot of people will say, well, I don't want to call these people because I don't want to I don't want to blow this lead and waste this lead. And, I won't know what to say and all these different things. It's not a wasted lead, guys. Okay. That's your equity right there. That's the cost of your learning. That's the cost of your experience. That's the cost of you going through the trenches or into the trenches and cutting your teeth and getting kicked in the face and learning that process, which eventually you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone to do. Now, there may be some of you who never want to go that route, never want to get into that position, and that's okay too. But I'm telling you, for those of you who do, that's what it's going to take, and that's what it's going to take to move you forward. And you're going to have to dedicate the time, and you're going to have to make the time, because, man, I mean, I've told you guys this. Some of you have heard me say this many times before. I work more now than I worked when I had my full-time insurance career and I was building my rehabbing business. I work way more hours now. I'm glued to this darn computer. But you know what? That's just the way it is when you're building your own business and you don't have a paycheck to rely on, and that's just, it's going to come in. Well, let's I just gotta wait another 5 or 6 days, and then I'll get paid again, and then everything will be okay for another couple of weeks. Like, when you don't have that, and you have to perform, and you have to do something, you have to be creative. You work, you put in the time, even when you don't feel like it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I would rather go lay down and close my eyes for a little bit right now than be on this call, because it's almost 6:30 at night. I've been working since 8 o'clock this morning, and my eyes hurt, my head hurts, but that's the price that you pay. Okay, just like being here with you guys, I never regret this because I'm adding value to your guys' lives, and you're adding value to mine by being on these calls and by the effort and the work and everything that you put into it and all those different things that you do for me. I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And if I've never said it before, I appreciate every single one of you and everyone that's not on this call, uh, because you put in your time and you sacrifice, and we help each other be successful, and that's what it's all about. All right, let me get to a comment here. Let's see. I have been going from sellers saying I'll think about it to I want to know more. I'm starting to break through. Yes, yes. I want to know more. That's always good. Can you send me more information? That's not always the best thing. That's in many cases kind of a getaway, but it's not to say that it won't turn around. Now, in those cases, when they say, "Hey, can you send me some more information? I'd like to know some more," and you've already talked about everything that they want you to send them some more information, that is your cue right there. That it's not necessarily only a getaway, but it depends on you on whether anything's going to come of that, because by the majority, nothing will come of it if not for you in those cases. You have to send them the additional information, whatever it is, whatever email they want, and then you have to follow up relentlessly with those people, because in most cases, I'm telling you from experience, I've done this for a long time, and I've followed up in other businesses for years and years, and sometimes it'll take you 4, 5, 10, 15 follow-up calls, and they don't answer, and that they're getting your voicemails, right, and your emails, but now all of a sudden they're not responding to you. Eventually somebody will, and eventually, even if it's 2 months down the road, they'll call you, and you know what, I'm really sorry I didn't respond to you, and blah 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 blah, because now something's happened. Now they're listing with their realtor expired, or this other thing didn't go through, or whatever it is. And because you follow it up so well and so relentlessly, they remembered you. Okay, and that's part of the reason you do it, is to keep you in the top of their minds. Okay, that way when you call them, it's like you're like their best friend, right? They've seen your name so many different times. It's going to go directly into their front of their thought when they see it, and it's going to be like as though they already know you, because you've been hounding them for 2 months, right? But that's what it takes, man. This is sales, and that's what it takes to differentiate yourselves from what most people do in any kind of sales environment. So good job, Michael. You are breaking through. You're making progress. So you just gotta take some notes, man, and evaluate yourself and see what it is that you're missing. And we all fall short. Okay, guys, we all do. The best of us do. I've been on calls with Vincent where he gets destroyed. I've gotten destroyed. We've both gotten destroyed at the same time. Like, I mean, those things happen. And sometimes people are relentless. So, and they won't even let you get a word in edgewise. I mean, I had a conversation yesterday with a guy who was a broker and an owner. And you know what a great combination that can be usually. And he was telling me exactly how I was going to do it and how things were going to be, and this is what I'm doing. And it finally got to the point where I had to tell him, it's like, well, first of all, if you would actually let me speak and tell you how it is and what it is that we're doing, because you're wrong. That's not how this is going to happen, and blah blah blah. And you have to interject sometimes, because people think that they know you and who you are, and you're gonna be this guy, and you're gonna run this scam and all these different things, and you just got to have thick skin and not let it bother you. And I mean, this guy, I was firm, and I stuck on the line with him, and finally, got him to pull the thing up online, and he was going to look at it, and we didn't think it was going to work out, and that's fine. Well, this guy took it upon himself to call me back again and tell me that he spoke it over with his wife, who's also a broker, and this is really not going to work. I'm just like, that's fine. Uh, Perfect. Go. You don't need me. You got this thing all figured out anyway. So go ahead. And that's going to happen, and that's okay. Okay. So don't beat yourself up when that happens. It may not happen right away, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen from time to time. You make enough calls. Excuse me. You have to realize, guys, that as good as your intentions are, and as genuine as you are to do something with yourself in this business and to learn something that's viable, that that doesn't cost you $30,000 to get into, and that there is a need for in the industry and all these different things, you're making these calls with the intention to be fully transparent and help and all these different things. You're still a complete stranger on the other line of on the other side of the phone, in a world full of scammers and full of people that have been taken advantage of and have had their identity stolen and have had their money stolen and all these different things. So don't underestimate the importance of building that rapport. And that's one of the things that when people get started and they get the script and they start calling, they're so nervous because they don't know what they're going to say. They don't know if a question comes up that they don't know how to handle it, because they've never studied sales and they've never studied how you handle those situations when it's okay to not know something, and how do you handle that so that you still address the customer's concern and make sure that you get the answer to that question. And people are just too concerned to sound like an idiot or just not know something, so they make stuff up, or they lie, or they just don't do anything at all because they're nervous. So they'll read this script and they'll basically just read the thing like a robot, not spend any time feature benefiting anything, not give people a chance to interject, just speed through it because they're just nervous, they want to get through it. And that's okay, that's normal, that's going to happen, but just understand that there is no rapport building going on when you handle things that way. And you can't get that other person to really be on your side and feel comfortable with the fact that here you are, you're a stranger calling and whatever. Okay, you have to find a way to connect with that person on a personal level somehow. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've I've done stupid things as silly as, like, you use the weather for example. You call, you identify yourself, blah blah blah, and this is why I'm calling, and how you doing, and I know where it is, and they ask, well, yeah, how are you doing? I say, oh man, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. Well, yeah, yeah, no, because man, I feel bad for where you guys are at, and here I am. I'm calling from Southern California, and how are you guys dealing with this right now? And you know what I mean? Something stupid, and almost to the point where I can give them something to be mad at me about, right? Because here I am in Southern California, and it was sunny and 70 degrees today, and but I really genuinely feel bad for people in just about every part of the United States right now. So it comes through as genuine, and you start talking, you start building, this conversation, and let me qualify that. I don't really get into that until I've already pre-qualified them, and that they are open to sell their house, and they are open to sell it through owner finance or lease purchase type of deal. Okay, I don't get into all this schmoozing and rapport building until I know that I have somebody that's not gonna be a complete waste of my time, because I don't need to entertain somebody for 35 minutes just so I can practice my rapport building. Okay, so just make sure that you don't confuse what I'm doing here. Okay, another question. I talked to a seller today. He hasn't been able to rent his house. He owns it with no mortgage. Okay, so he's not extremely motivated. He is listed on the MLS with a realtor. His contract states if he rents it, he can break the contract. When we set up our contract, is it considered rent or a sale in the beginning? Okay, very good question. Hopefully, you guys all got kind of the progression of that. And Michael, it is technically, and I'll take you guys through the process, okay, especially for those of you who want to understand the contracting and how it goes. In the very beginning, it's really more, it's a lease. That's all it is. Okay, so in the beginning, we engage the seller with a non-exclusive um, option agreement, which is just a lease option agreement, giving us equitable interest in the property, the ability to essentially market the property without brokering, without a license. And so that option agreement gives us the ability to essentially control the property by in what I mean by that is that we can essentially market it how we want. We can find the buyer for it how we want. and then we will, once we find a buyer, set up the viewing. They see it, they like it, they want to move in. The next thing that we do is we draft up a lease purchase agreement or a lease option agreement, along with the all the different disclosures and the lead based paint and all that nonsense, and basically break out all the basic terms. But it's still a lease option agreement. So all a lease option is just a glorified lease agreement or a rental agreement. Okay, so in the very beginning, it's still a lease agreement. And then what ends up happening is we will assign that lease option agreement to the sellers, and it's still a lease agreement. And then what we do as a courtesy is we draft up the contract for deed, installment purchase contract. And then once that gets executed by both parties, then that takes over and nullifies the lease agreement, and it becomes a bona fide purchase via an installment purchase contract. So in the very beginning, yes, you can say, hey, I have this executed document and it's a lease. And yes, they may have the ability to exercise an option down the road, but really it's a lease. So he could in effect work that if that's how he has it written into his listing agreement, then he could technically break it, and hopefully it means that he could break it at no charge. All right, hope that answers that question. Let me get a drink. All right, so where were we? So we were talking about rapport building. So once you do that and you start to learn the process and be able to handle the questions effectively, and if you're not getting any objections, that's usually a bad sign. Okay, an objection is a good thing. It's nothing more than a buying signal, as long as you can address it and make it something that they perceive as in their best interest. And what we're doing is really a win-win. It's in the best interest of the seller, it's in the best interest of the buyer in this case. Okay, so you guys have to believe that. You have to have that conviction of knowing that. And if you don't know that, it's because you don't understand it. And if you don't understand it, then that's the first thing that you have to remedy as you move forward. The only thing, in my opinion, that really beats this is for somebody to just come out and do a cash purchase. And of course, that's what everybody wants. That's the best thing. That's what the seller would want. If somebody just came up and boom, here you go, we'll cash you out today, that is the best deal. But in lieu of that, I believe that this is the best deal. All right, so let's talk about this deal that that I got today. And I'm going to pull up an aerial photo of it so you can see it. All right. Can you guys all see that? So what you're looking at here is not the entire acreage, but this property sits on 12 acres. Can you see it? Anybody? Just make sure you can see my screen. So this property, okay, thank you. This property sits on 12 and a half acres. It has the main property right here. Okay, then it has a guest house. It has an apartment structure. Basically, he calls it an apartment, but it's a big structure with essentially 3 apartments in it. It's got like another little bungalow thing, and then this is what he calls the lake house. Let me pan out here a little bit so you can see. I mean, it's basically just a man-made lake, but it's beautiful. I mean, I'll show you some pictures too, if you guys want, so it's a little bit more close up. But here's the deal with this thing, and why it's so awesome. So it's got all that stuff in the property, and what we negotiated basically with the guy was a purchase price of just under $2 million and a monthly payment of $6,000 a month for an incoming buyer. Now, I'll let any of you who are either good at math or have taken my advice and Googled mortgage calculator, so you can have a tool when you're talking to people, to help them, estimate exactly what the monthly payment should be and needs to be, and you can use it as a tool because in many cases, their payment is X amount of dollars, and their property is worth so much, and then you calculate what that payment should be, and you tell them, oh, look, this is what we could get for your property, and they see that they can cash flow that. Anyway, it's a tool without getting too sidelined. You can clearly see that an almost $2 million mortgage is going to cost a lot more than $6,000 a month. And I'll give kudos to the first person to tell me how much a $2,000 or $2 million mortgage, amortized for 30 years on a 5% simple interest with property taxes included, roughly is on that property. Okay, just so you can see the 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 opportunity here. Okay, and if I, I can guess who's going to give me that number first, but I'll come back to that number. Here's the other thing. The property currently has a rental income of about $2,100 a month because of the guest house and the quote unquote apartments. Okay, the seller has agreed to not take that $2,100 a month and just take the $6,000 a month. So where's that $2,100 a month going to go? Well, wherever we say it goes, because we're the ones that have the equitable interest in the property. So when we contract with a buyer, we can give them, say, part of that or half of that or none of it, because $6,000 a month is a steal on an almost $2 million property on 12 and a half acres. And I mean, they have other ways that they monetize this property. They have wedding receptions there. This property right here, the lake house, is actually like more like a convention center. So it doesn't per se have beds and baths. It's got a huge bar, and it's got uh, different tables, and just imagine a nice place to have a wedding reception. It's got pool tables. It does have I think it's got a couple of beds in there, in different sections, but so people can generate income that way, and so on and so forth. Thank you, Michael. $10,700 a month would be a more fair um, monthly market value for that property. So there's $4,700 a month difference technically. So if we wanted to, for $6,000 a month for this property, maybe we can find somebody more quickly because it's such a deal. And the guy's put over $1 million of improvements into this property since he bought it too. So so say we did it for $7,000 a month, $7,500 a month, which is still a deal. Now we're cash flowing $1,000 a month plus the $2,000 a month. So I mean, there's just huge potential in this property. Besides the fact that, let's not forget that on this type of property, we probably wouldn't look for anybody that had less than $100,000 to put down. So $100,000 down, $2,000 a month on top of that for 2 years. I mean, it's a pretty good deal, right? So I'm pretty excited about it. The guy was really cool, and there's a lot to talk about, a lot of conversation, a lot of details, and but that's the deal that I got under contract today. Well, that's one of them. The other one was in New York. That one was an interesting property too. It's got a pond, and I'm waiting on some good pictures because the pictures, man, I just don't get it. Okay, Sean knows better because he's an awesome realtor. But people in general, and many realtors by and large, like sometimes it makes me wonder if people actually want to sell their properties because they have like three lame pictures that are out of focus that don't even highlight like the good parts of the property, or they don't put any pictures at all, and then they wonder what happens. So anyway, so that's that deal, and I'm waiting on pictures on the other property, so that we can submit it for marketing. And it was a busy day. Calling a bunch of different buyers as well. And what is it that you guys are struggling with? Is there anything that you guys are struggling with besides, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But here's something. If you and just think about that. I'm gonna open it up for Q&A here in a minute. We've gone already 45 minutes into this, and I really don't want to keep you guys for an hour and a half like I've done before. But it's all about people, right? It's all about relationships. It's about how you handle those relationships, how you communicate with those people, how you follow up with the people that you've been in contact with that you don't have contracts on. For the people that you have contracts on, you got to make sure that you keep touching them because anything can happen. For buyers that you're not sure if they're ready to go, you got to keep following up with them. All the way to potential realtors or brokers. I had two people in the last week that it just so happened that they were realtors, but they were a little bit more open minded, and we talked about the different scenarios, and there wasn't anything to do there. But they said, I want to send you leads. This sounds good. I like this. Do you pay referral fees or whatever? And I'm talking more specifically about buyers. And so, of course, yes, we do. And this is how it'll work. Be happy to pay you $500 on every buyer that you send my way that we end up doing a deal with. And those people will probably not ever send me anything if I don't follow up with them. And so what did I do today? I sent a follow up email to somebody from last week that told me that, I want to keep your information, so I have it. Well, you can't rely on those people. So I sent her an email, just touching base, want to make sure, blah blah blah. Always ready and eager to help anybody that that wants to buy a house or can't sell theirs. And that was it. Have a great day. And she responded, oh, thank you so much, and that was it. And then I'll touch her again next week, and then the week after that. And that's the only way that those types of potential relationships that you guys want to build with these potential lead sources work, is by you putting in the work and the time, and you being the one that follows up, and you being the one that cultivates that relationship, and all those different things. It all, again, rests on you. And one of the things that I listen to in my car or my truck on a regular basis is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Can't listen to that enough. I switch it up with a bunch of different things, but you can't listen to that enough. And the audiobook, the narrator is one of the best narrators that I've seen or that I've heard. And and they talk about, of course, just interpersonal relationships and the power of persuasion and how you persuade people by with the way that you speak to them. And I've told Vincent the same thing. I was like, sometimes you get farther with people with praise than you do with a steel-toed boot. And he's still not sure on that one. He likes the steel-toed boot method a little bit better, but you know everything works differently for different people. But you gotta develop the power of persuasion. I mean, if you let me illustrate President Lyndon Johnson. Okay, before he became president, he developed a process that in this having this amazing power of personal persuasion with people, and he developed a 10 point formula for his success. His rules and everything that people notice, right? When you're a person of influence and you're a person that people like Charles Schwab was another one, and I mean just the way that they influence people is amazing. And he actually developed a 10 point formula for success. And I have that here, and I'm gonna read these to you guys pretty much verbatim. Okay, and don't worry, this is being recorded. If you want to listen to it again and take them down at a later time, you can. But here they go, and this will be what I leave you guys with, and then I'll answer any questions if you guys have any. Okay, number one, learn to remember names. Inefficiency at this point may indicate that your interest is not sufficiently outgoing. So it's very important. Okay, there isn't a single phrase or name in the world that a person likes better than their own name. And people take it personally when not only do you not remember their name, but when you remember their name incorrectly. You pronounce it wrong, You call it whatever, like you heard Pete do on the radio today. For any of you who listen to the radio, and so I shake my head, but the person's name is crucial, and this has definitely been a weak point for me because for whatever reason, I just have always had a terrible time remembering names. So I make it a conscious effort to do so, and that's the only way around it. And I still struggle with it, but I make it that effort. And I'm in awe with people. There's those people you hear about that could remember 50,000 people's names, and they're strangers and whatever. It's crazy, right? All right, number two, be a comfortable person so there's no strain in being with you. Be an old shoe kind of individual. Now, how many of you know a person like that? Or how many of you acknowledge the fact that maybe you're not that type of person? Maybe you're a little bit abrasive. Maybe you have a hard exterior shell that repels people sometimes by your mannerisms or your attitude, or just the way that you interact with people. Okay, it's very very important. Be an old shoe kind of individual, and all these things do not come naturally to most of us. Okay, so every single one of these things and all the different things that we do on a daily basis take prolonged, consistent daily effort and action. Okay, when I was young, I used to have a pretty bad temper. I got the scars on my hands and my face to prove it. I used to have a pretty bad temper, but I grew up. I realized that that wasn't the right way to be, and for various reasons, including my faith, I turned that leaf, and my fuse started growing and growing and growing. But the only reason that happened was because I made that conscious effort to change the type of person that I was. And of course, once I had my daughters, I mean that it was over. It was over then. You know what I mean? I mean they have an amazing effect on taming your spirit if you allow them to, of course, because there's still plenty of jerks out there who aren't. Okay, number three, acquire the quality of relaxed, easygoing, so that things do not ruffle you. Okay, again, we all have our days, right? Where somebody says something to us and we're just in that mood, and you're just ready to bite someone's head off because we're so stressed. We have so many things on our plate. We have all these this emotional baggage going on because of our relationship and whatever it is. And somebody comes up to you or says something to you, or sends you a text message or something that is completely not related to your mood or your attitude or what you got going on, and you explode and you react. And I've done this to my friends in the past when I've been, I've had plenty of reasons and instances where I was emotionally fragile, and I've snapped. And so you got to be careful with that. So when you develop and acquire the quality of relaxed, easygoing, so that things do not ruffle you, even when you are emotionally distraught, even when you have stuff going on in your life, even when you've had a bad day, you have consciously developed your ability and your capacity to handle those things better, and to be able to handle more of those things without blowing up at people, without blowing up at yourself, without completely stressing yourself out and spinning yourself out. And again, I speak from experience because I've been there, and it takes practice and it takes conscious effort, just like your relationships, just like loving the people around you. You have to love is an action. You guys all know that. All right, number four, do not be egotistical. Guard against the impression that you know it all. The worst thing, or one of the easiest ways to show how much you don't know and how uneducated and illiterate you are, is to pretend like you know everything, and to always want to be right, and to always have to be right, and to all these different things. It's not a good quality, and it's only going to keep you from your own further growth and your own success and your own accomplishment and your own just maturing. Okay, because we all have to mature in many different ways, and we never stop that process of maturing, in various aspects of our lives. So check your ego at the door. You want to have a healthy ego, healthy self-perception. You don't want to be one of those self-deprecating people that belittle yourselves all the time. You definitely don't want that, but you don't want to be egocentric. Number 5, cultivate the quality of being interesting so people will get something of value from their association with you. Now, what kind of a challenge is that? You gotta have something to say. You gotta have some way to add value to the people you come in contact with. You have to fill your mind, which is why I tell people, listen to audiobooks in your trucks, in your cars, in your vehicles, not music whenever possible. Read books that are inspirational, motivational, or educational, not fiction or nonfiction that's just escapism. Okay, you want to fill your mind with things that are going to grow and expand your mind so that you can have interesting conversations with people. And you always want to learn, you always want to improve, because there will always be somebody that you can help. There's always be somebody that you can enlighten by some of the things that you learn if you dedicate yourself to learning something regularly. Okay? Hope that makes sense. Number 6, study to get the scratchy elements out of your personal or I'm sorry, study to get the scratchy elements out of your personality, even those of which you may be unconscious. What does that mean? What are some of the scratchy elements in your personality? Okay, again, think about sandpaper. Okay, think about how abrasive you are. Just tune it down to a higher grade of sandpaper. All right, that's if you can follow that illustration, just be less scratchy. Okay, learn to give more hugs. Number 7, sincerely attempt to heal on an honest basis every misunderstanding you have had or now have. Drain off your grievances. Man, if that's not a principle to live by, I don't know what is. I mean, man, sincerely attempt to heal on an honest basis every misunderstanding you have had or now have. Don't be afraid to be the first person to apologize. Okay, when you offend somebody, admit it. Don't defend yourself. Don't say, well, I only did it because of this, or oh well, and attempt to have that other person see your point of view instead. Feelings are feelings, guys. Okay, they're not right or wrong. And when that person feels them, they are real and they are right and true to them. And when you apologize for someone's feelings, or when you give an explanation for that feeling or for what you did that inadvertently, made that feeling arise in that person, just validate it, acknowledge it, apologize. Maybe you didn't do anything wrong. Maybe you just caught that person at the wrong time of the day and the wrong time of the month, whatever it is. Maybe that's the case. Bottom line is they felt that way, and if you want to keep that relationship going, if you want to nurture that relationship and continue to have it grow and be lasting, apologize, admit it, repent, and vow to be more sensitive next time, or whatever it is, but be genuine and don't make excuses for it. Okay, now I feel like I'm giving a psychology class here in interpersonal relationships, but I mean, these are all things that I can tell you honestly that I have worked for years and years to etch into my life, and I continue to work in them because none of us will ever be perfect, and we'll always reach a point where we're at the end of our rope, or something happens and we snap or whatever. But be conscious to do that, and to also be forgiving, not just be quick to apologize, but also be quick to forgive other people. All right, number 8, practice liking people until you learn to do so genuinely. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, there's a good number of people out there that they're just not likable. Okay, they rub me the wrong way, they rub you the wrong way, they have their quirks, they have all these different things, they make you uncomfortable, whatever it is. And just like all these different things that we're talking about, you have to make a conscious effort to like that person to some regard. It doesn't mean become their buddy. It doesn't mean that you have to respect them and above all else and all these different things. But being likable and liking others will help you go a long way. All right, number 9. I think this is a big one. Never miss an opportunity to say a word of congratulation upon anyone's achievement or express sympathy in sorrow or disappointment. Okay, so this is kind of a twofold thing, right? A lot of people have the propensity when they see other people succeeding to go into their own little corner and get with their band of miscreants that are never going to achieve anything or go anywhere, and talk about how well this person that person this, and just sit there in a circle of why they were able to and you couldn't, and making all these excuses. And you know what I'm talking about. The best thing to do, and I mean, I had to teach my kids this because it's just the human condition, right? He this, he that, he's so lucky, whatever nonsense. You praise that person, you acknowledge that person, and I know in our groups and everything, we're all very encouraging and so on and so forth, and that's good. But are we like that in person? Are we like that in real life when we're not behind a keyboard and it's easy to just thumbs up and congratulations and whatever, which is good. It's a good step because it's a good practice, and hopefully that helps you do that more so in person and in real life. But always congratulate somebody on their successes and be sympathetic in their failures and their distress. Okay, when somebody's really in distress, the last thing they want you to tell them is, "Oh, don't worry about it," and whatever it is, whatever we do as people that we just want to fix it, right? So you give some kind of solution or you give some kind of whatever instead of just being there for them and telling them that you love them and telling them that you're there if they need anything, and just being an encouragement. Weep when others weep and rejoice when others rejoice. It's a very good principle to live by, but again, one you have to practice. And last but not least, give spiritual strength to people, and they will give genuine affection to you. So what does that mean? Some of you might be, I don't know what to say. I mean, what's politically correct? I don't really care. Religious, believers, faithful, whatever you wanna identify yourself as. The fact of the matter is that we all have a spirit of some kind, and by feeding each other's spirit, meaning you're there for people, you encourage people, you use your words for healing and for uplifting instead of for tearing down. Those people will become your friends, and they'll encourage you back, and they'll add value to your life because they know that you care, and make sure that you do care. Don't be disgenuine. So anyway, that's it. That's my spiel for tonight. Hopefully you found it of value, and my voice. I know tonight's been a little bit off. My throat's been kind of bad for a couple of days, but hopefully I came through loud and clear, and this was of benefit to you guys. If you have any questions whatsoever, now is the time to ask them. Any comments or anything like that, please go ahead and do so now. If we're not connected on Facebook, please go ahead and add me. The easiest thing to do, I guess, is just to go to our website at c2cria.com/connect, and that'll give you a variety of my links and Pete's links as well. And if you found this of value or anything like that, say something nice if you would. It always helps the cause. It always helps bring more people into the fold to be your wingmen and to be going through the process with you, and that you guys can help each other. There's always strength in numbers, and the more people that we have going, the better it is. So with that, thank you so much, guys. Any questions, any comments? What about if you guys type in what you're gonna do tomorrow? What's your goal for tomorrow? What do you want to accomplish tomorrow? One thing that you want to accomplish tomorrow. Write it in the comment box. right now before we go. There's not that many of you, so you guys can all do that. Whatever, Sean. That is not what you want to accomplish. That's already a fact. Sean's goal for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Yes. Congratulations, Sean. You got the answer right. It was that your goal to make it to Valentine's Day? Yes, thank you, Sean. Always Sean's always got my back. He was just reminding me in the event that I forgot, and doesn't want Sharon to have her feelings hurt that I may have forgotten that tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Thank you. All right. So Michael, or you know what? I won't embarrass you guys. I'm just gonna pick these at random and won't say who said them, but you know who it is. So moving on. So one of your goals for tomorrow, to help other people on here. I've been able to find rapport, or I'm sorry, I've been able to build rapport by talking about the weather, giving some background on myself, ask about their kids, how many, how old, find a way to connect. Also, when I find investors who are sellers, I let them know my inexperience and they seem to loosen up a bit. Good point. Here's a little bonus for you. By the end of the conversation, if they did tell you how many and how old and what their names are, see if you can recite it or put it into the conversation again. All right. So help other people. That is one of the goals. All right. Another goal is I will call 1 to 2 leads tomorrow from my 10-minute tasks. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and round that up to 2 for you. Okay. So you're going to call 2 tomorrow, not 1 to 2. You're going to call 2 tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Break your teeth. Yes. Okay. So you want to get your website completed. Okay, so is that a reasonable goal that you can accomplish tomorrow, or will you just get a bunch of work done on it and hopefully move forward? All right, so that's not everybody. We still got a few more of you on here. One goal that you will accomplish tomorrow. It's a very simple 1 day goal. It doesn't have to be, the big goals that I always tell you guys to set. Just one goal for tomorrow. Man, come on, you guys. All right, I mean, we got half of you to say you're gonna have a goal for tomorrow. That can be an indicator that that other half of you may need to put in a little bit extra work and may need to change some of the things that you're doing in order for you guys to start moving forward. If you can't even think of one thing you want to get done tomorrow. Yeah, I get it, Sean. Yeah, if somebody will just give him the admin code so he can get his website done. Yeah, well, persistence. Persist. All right, I'll take that. You're gonna shovel the driveway. That's a goal for tomorrow. And man, frankly, it's a goal that I'm glad I don't have to set. So once again, I feel for you guys. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'm gonna go ahead and cut you guys loose. We'll talk to you next week. Make it a great end of your week, and make sure that when the weekend gets here, you don't just let off the gas completely. Okay, keep driving. The weekend might be some of your guys' biggest opportunity to move yourselves forward along your goal path to becoming a full-time real estate investor. All right, guys, have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week, and we'll see you online. Take care.